Hi, I just wanted to come on quickly and talk about something that is being quite a controversial topic for a lot of people in the autistic community. So it's the phrase Asperger syndrome. So before the year 2013, so not that long ago, you could have been diagnosed with Asperger syndrome. But since then, it has been replaced with autism spectrum disorder. So where does the term Asperger's come from? Asperger's, I think people say Asperger's. And why do we not use it anymore? Okay, so there's many reasons why we don't use it, and it's kind of boils down to the fact that it's just easier to accumulate lots of different titles, I guess, labels into one, which can account for them all, which is autism spectrum disorder. Anyway, so Asperger's was named after Hans Asperger, and he was, I've got my notes here just because it helps me to focus, he was a paediatrician in Austria who may or may not have been a Nazi himself, but he definitely worked for the Nazis. So he worked for the Nazis during the Holocaust and basically kind of like identified children within certain camps that were disabled and would be nowadays seen as autistic. And he noticed that there was a massive intellectual difference between some of the children. Some of them had much higher IQs than the others, so he basically saved these high-functioning children so that he could prove that they had a place in society, that they had special gifts, or that they were very intelligent. Anyway, so he kind of created this whole labelling, high-functioning, low-functioning language. Hans cooperated with the Nazis regiment when they sent children to a clinic, and it was basically a clinic that was designed for euthanasia. So he sat on a committee that basically decided whether a child should live or die, based on their abilities, I guess. But yeah, so Hans first published his kind of understanding of autism in 1944. So it was kind of like the first definition of what autism was in his papers, which has been very good and still kind of used today for research purposes, for what he discovered. But he ultimately was like not a good guy by saying that a certain type of people had no place in society and that they deserved to either have experiments put on them or to be killed. So the experiments that they put on the kids were similar to what would be like AB therapy nowadays, or shock therapy, and just really inhumane type of experiments. So I really don't like the term Asperger syndrome. So if someone says that I must have that, or I'm really high functioning, I find that really offensive, and it actually doesn't do any credit for the struggles that I have. It basically just says that I can manage in society, and that I'm someone that can, what's the word, like I can give to society. I don't know, but I'm not very good at explaining all this, but I read quite a lot about it in lots of books, but this one most specifically, Different Not Less, by Chloe Hayden. And when she's just talked about it, she does it really well. So let's just see. So I'll just read this excerpt. Functional labels were created by non-autistic people who knew very little about autism. who have no connection with autism and who want to make it easier for a neurotypical community to understand their minds and further alienate them. So basically telling a whole group of people that they're incapable, and another group that their struggles are minimal and they don't matter. Both are extremely problematic, outdated ways of thinking. Functional labels and Asperger's syndrome both need to be erased entirely from the diagnostic criteria. One person's level of functioning will fluctuate throughout their day, throughout their week, throughout their life, depending on what circumstances, environment, mood and other factors they're going through. Someone who has been deemed as high functioning simply due to their external factors and not how they internally struggle with anything. People who are deemed to be at one end of the spectrum are seen as incapable. They aren't given the respect that they deserve, and the things that they can do are overlooked. We see someone who outwardly presents a certain way and immediately pin them as low functioning. It's invalidating of their abilities and how they communicate with the world simply because either they don't speak or they don't have a great way of communicating. That's just because other people don't understand them. A label of low functioning denies a person the ability to thrive in their own way and in their own time. So there's the New Zealand Maori word for autism. I can't remember how you pronounce it. Takawongo. I can't remember how you say it, but it basically means in your own time and space, and it's the most beautiful explanation of autism, like to do things in one's own time and space. So that kind of reminded me of that. On the flip side, those on the other end of the spectrum may simply be quirky and their struggles are diminished and overlooked. That's not okay. As with everyone, our struggles and our strengths are our own individual struggles and strengths. So you would never say to someone who's neurotypical that you're high functioning or low functioning, because it's just unkind to assess someone on their intellectual kind of output in this world. Language is also used by neurotypical people to push themselves into the narrative. Autism is a spectrum and everyone on it, but that is also very problematic. So autism is not a linear spectrum. It's not a singular line where one end is a little bit autistic and the other end is very autistic. Instead, the autism spectrum is more like a colour wheel, with every colour represented is a different strength, a different struggle, a different identity, but all the colours are autism. I want to talk about the spectrum on another video because that's massive, but yeah, it's kind of like low functioning and high functioning. Just get rid of those languages. Like, it's really frustrating when people say to me that I must be really high functioning because I can give eye contact, I can hold a conversation, I can hold down a job, I'm very good at relationships. But that just because my autism seems mild to them, but my autism is not mild to me. It's very debilitating. It's really hard for me to function, and I basically mask in order to make you guys feel comfortable. But what is my needs? Where is my struggle? It's all internal, and I'm just not okay with people assuming that I don't struggle or my struggles are not important. So I'll leave it there today. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to Chloe Hayden. This book is amazing and everyone should read it. It's literally taking me forever to read because I'm highlighting literally every page that I read. Don't know if that's coming up on the screen. I should have used a highlighter. Brilliant book, very educational, and my whole point of doing this YouTube is also to be educational, because there's no point listening to what autism is unless you're listening to autistic people. Thank you very much.